Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. A lot of people ask me, where do you get your clothes? And honestly, I get them everywhere. There is no one simple answer to that question. But today I'm going to show you how I make printed skirts like this into poofy knee-length pants. If you are into this kind of fashion, you know how hard it is to get poofy pants which actually match the style and have like a beautiful print, because skirts come in all sorts of prints, in all beautiful patterns and colors, and then we have pants and they're pretty much all black, blue if you're lucky, and I mean nothing against those, but that's a pretty limited kind of thing to choose from when you actually want to wear a style and not just one color, which is kind of ironic to say for me because right now I am wearing black. So what I often do is just to purchase pretty skirts and change them into pretty pants. Let's go have a look at how exactly I do that. Materials you will need for this. First, of course, a skirt, fabric scissors, pins, elastic band, depending on what you want to do with the pants, some matching lace, and of course, a sewing machine. And if you're like me, of course you do mistakes, and you may need a seam opener. And it's always handy to have additional materials like needles, thread, and other scissors at hand. The skirt I am changing into pants today is by Violet Fane, which is a Spanish indie label, and if you don't know them, they create beautiful prints which are a mixture of the beautiful and the macabre. I think they're probably my favorite brand right now. First, you take your skirt and just have a look at it. See what you're going to work with. Like, for example, how is the elastic band? Do I have to change something about that? Does it have a lining, like this skirt does? Does it have the lace I want, or do I have to add something? And yeah, just pretty much what am I going to do with this. Now for this skirt, I personally want my pants to have a lace trimming, so I'm going to add lace later. But also this skirt has a lining. And if your skirt has a lining, it is actually pretty important to keep that, because mostly lining is there to support the fabric. Like this fabric is rather thin and the lining kind of supports it. But if you change this into pants, you have to make sure that the lining sticks where it's supposed to be. So that is what we're going to do first. We're just going to turn the skirt inside out and lay it flat on the floor, or any surface you're working on really. Then you just kinda lay it very flat, so that this is a very straight line and actually where it is supposed to go. Then we take pins and just fix it where it is supposed to go. Then we do the same thing all around the skirt for the whole lining. Also be careful that you don't pick up the fabric underneath. Then we are taking it to the sewing machine and, well, sew it on. And lastly, we're just going to use the reverse button to fix the seam. Then we can just open it, pop the thread, and the first step is done. Next, we are going to add some lace. For that, first you have to measure how long exactly is the seam that you have here. For that, you best start at a seam like that and just measure all around the seam how long this is. And then you get as much lace as you need for it. For the lace, we could pin this down also, but I think it's rather easy to actually just lay the lace onto the fabric while we sew. You just lay down your lace where you want it to be, set down your foot on it, and again, fix it with the reverse button and then just start sewing away. Always making sure that it is actually where you want it to be and not uneven. Now this is actually an easy part of the process, but also a tedious part of the process, because this is a lot of material. So bear with me, this is an easy part, but it's going to take you a lot of time, just as a fair warning. And again, when you're done, you can fix it with the reverse button. Then you have to cut off the excess lace, because you are probably going to have some, at least. Just make a clean cut. And then, since the lace here is kind of divided, you just get your lace, put it above the rest of the lace, put your foot down, and I'm just going to change the setting to a zigzag setting to kind of fix it onto the other lace here. Now the next part is where it's going to get interesting, because we are actually forming the legs of the pants. And to do that, we are taking the skirt by the lowest seam and just find the middle. If the skirt has side seams like this, or you can better see it from the inside, just take this as one of the side parts, stretch it completely out, and then fold it together to find the middle of this seam. Then when you found the middle, just take a pin and mark it on both sides. Another point we have to find is up to where we need the seam to go. For that, you best just put your skirt on like you normally would, and just reach around from the back so it has a comfortable space between your legs. And this is on the front, where we will now put another pin. We just need to put one pin because this is all the marking we need. The rest of this part can be done on the floor again, because you just turn the skirt inside out again and find the middle of the seam on both sides. And this is where you put it together, just exactly in the middle part on both sides. Now this would be a lot easier if I didn't try to have this on camera somehow and see it in real life at the same time. And you can just take the other needle out. Now you can find the middle part here. I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but you will see this in real life. And just go up in a straight line up until where you marked your skirt, pants. And I'm just going to put another pin in here from this side. Now for this part, it is very important that this middle part you're working on lies completely flat and on top of the other part. Now we're going from this middle part and taking about that much of a distance to both sides and pin it off. And then you just try to go as symmetrical as you can from those pins to the upper pin. I'm just going to lay those pins down first so you can see where they're going before you actually pin them down. This is... oh no, I already made a stain here. This is about where you're going to put those pins, so we're just going to put them in here. Now in this part it is important that you get all layers with those pins, not just the top layer but all layers. If you have a lining like on this skirt, it is important to get the lining and the top fabric on both sides. If you have done this before on another piece of cloth, you can just take the part you cut out there and use it as a pattern. But since I wanted to show you how it is done when you don't have a pattern yet, we are going to do it without it this time. Now this is the part where it gets actually scary, because we're going to cut into the fabric. This is the scariest part because if you do this wrong, this could potentially ruin everything. But we don't ruin everything, we're doing it right. It's just scary to do sometimes. And for the cutting, again, it's important that it lies as flat as possible. And we cut right next to the pins on the inside, so those pins still hold all layers together. If you're wondering why I have sewn on that lace even though I'm going to cut it off, I actually did this on purpose. For one, because it just is easier to do opposed to sewing it on both parts of the legs. But for another, yes, for another, you will also have those two pieces here, which you can then later use to make other things with it. Like this, it doesn't look very big, it doesn't look very spectacular, but I've done this with another skirt before. For example, you can sew them together and then in the end make a cute bow like this out of it, which is then a bow which you can put on your hat, which you can wear as a bow tie, and it just matches the print perfectly because it's literally the same fabric with the same lace. So we are going to keep those things. What you do with them is up to you. You can throw them away if you want, I don't know, whatever you want to do with them. But since we've sewn on the lace before, this will be the same here and it will match everything well. You can also keep this to just, you know, use it as a pattern on the next skirt so it won't be as scary. Now with this part, we go back to the sewing machine. Before we start sewing, it's kind of important that you turn all of those needles with the pointy part to the part where you're sewing, so you have everything in one direction and don't have problems getting those pins out of your fabric later. But be careful that everything stays where it's supposed to be. Honestly, I should have thought about that while I pinned this down, but let's be honest here, we don't always think of everything. It's normal to make mistakes, and you just have to own your mistakes and be able to correct them. Now we will just have to sew everything back together, and we don't change anything. We sew this exactly where we cut it, and we have to do this inside out, so the seam will be on the inside of the pants. And it's best to start the seam at the lace. If you get to this point, it's rather tricky. You can always turn the sewing machine by hand here, so it goes very slowly. And you can just very carefully get exactly to the part where it basically turns. Make sure the needle is in the fabric, then lift the little leg, turn it around and set it back down. And then you can just continue sewing. that will later look like this on the fabric. I also still have this needle on the inside here. I'm just going to get it out from the other side. Now when we sewn this together, of course, here is an open kinda cut of fabric. So it's important to secure this fabric, which we will do with another zigzag line. For this, just make sure that the cut of fabric is in the middle of this here, so the zigzag line kinda grips onto that and fixes it so it won't come apart at the seam. And done. You can of course add some additional seams in the crotch, which personally I will do because you never know, it may rip and better be safe than sorry. So I will just go back here and add another seam to just, you know, make it a little bit stronger. Just right on top of the other. At this part, if you're like me, you'll probably have the urge to try the pants on and see how weird they look right now. Now we start with another tricky part, which is the elastic band. For the elastic band, you take something which you have to feel at a distance to the bottom seam. I'm just going to put this like 1 or 2 centimeters, I don't know, you have to do this by feeling, but a little bit away from there. Just put the foot down on it. And I think it's helpful that we did the same with the lining here, because we can use this as orientation and also don't add much of another seam here. First we start off by fixing it here. I would advise to start with this on the inner seam, because this is where it's going to be a little bit dirty, and this is the part which you usually see least of your pants, so this is a good part to start. For this to be actually elastic, we'll just have to put the needle in here and just stretch the elastic band as wide as you can, and while it's stretched, sew it on. You have to work in smaller parts here, so it's actually all stretched out. And of course you always have to watch out that you don't get lace or other fabric into this line. When you get to the end, this may be a little uneven, because keep in mind this is handmade and I'm not a professional, you're not a professional probably, I don't know. You just have to put this right on top of here. And then just cut it off here. And for the rest of it, don't stretch it, just fix it here. Right on top of the other elastic. Now this should look something like this. As I said, it's a little bit dirty here, but otherwise you have this really nice ruffled kind of seam. And don't be scared about this seam being too visible, because since it's ruffled, it's a little bit hidden. Now we have to resist the urge to try those pants on again and just do the same on the other side. And that's it. You could, if you want to, add another line of elastic, but that would be even trickier, and I'm going to leave it like that for this piece. Okay, to be perfectly honest, today's the next day. I was a bit in a hurry yesterday because it turned dark very quickly and I wanted to finish this in the light and still didn't manage to, but I am going to add that second line of elastic after all, because if I'm going to show you already, I can show you properly, and I think that second line of elastic just adds a little bit of definition and control to the pants legs. So how we do this is we just go next to the other line, and again this is more like you just feel where you do this, but it's about 1 centimeter apart. And then first, of course, we're gonna fix it again. This is probably the trickiest part of doing this, which is maybe why I avoided it earlier. You have to kind of stretch the elastic you have already, lay this one flat, stretch this with the other hand, and then just hold this very firmly and sew it on. By the way, if you sew this on and stretch this down, you kinda have to pull on the backside while sewing, so it actually goes, because when you pull here, it won't automatically go down the sewing machine. You actually have to pull it yourself, like so. And you have to do this for every section you do. When you're done with it, it should look something like this. And when you've done this on both sides, you can just turn the skirt inside out, or not the skirt anymore, but the pants. And that's basically it. So this is it. This is my go-to method how to make skirts into poofy pants. You can also use this on JSKs and just make a jumpsuit out of them. And you can do this to literally any skirt you can find. Whether it be brand, indie label, secondhand, you know, whenever you see something, see the print and think, oh my god, I want to have this, but as pants, you can just use this trick. Anyway, this is how I do it. That doesn't mean that another method would not be right, or that I say this is the only method. This is just how I personally like to do it to my own pants. I don't know how else to present them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry there's a change of no makeup and just out of the top and everything, but I didn't finish this video yesterday when daylight was here, and I really wanted to finish it and show you the actual result in daylight and not in weird lamplight. But I think I'm just going to be lazy and not record this again and just cut to the end I recorded for this yesterday. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video has been helpful for those who keep asking where I get my clothes or how I make certain things. For those who are interested in the style, who would like to try more different styles, and I don't know, who just don't know where to get the pants. I really hope that if you liked the video and if you found this helpful, you could give me a thumbs up on the video. And if you actually use this method on pants you are going to wear, I would be really happy if you could link back to my video so other people can see it as well. Of course, you don't have to, but I would be really grateful if you did. So thank you in advance if you do. And yes, thank you again for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye.